what did you do in the offseason to prepare yourself for and set up the kind of season that you're having this year?
Yeah, I mean, off-season is obviously a really important time. During the off-season, I'll lift. We did some running this past off-season just with Coach Moffitt, and that's been really helpful. I feel like I've been getting more athletic, and I think that is huge, and I think athleticism does translate to kicking, even though we're not running around and chasing people and stuff like that, but it does help with explosiveness and flexibility. Also, just during the summer, I'll take time. I'll kick 4 days a week, and I'll just work on drills, just like focus on what I can do to get better just during those days, and make sure that I have intentionality with it, and that I'm not just going out there and just swinging just to swing, but like trying to focus on one thing and really work on that. And I think that's really helped. Just where my focus can be on, okay, what can I do to make the ball go straight? And once I do what I can there and it gets up in the air, there's nothing more I can do with it. So just focusing on that part instead of what the result is.
We'll go front row on the right side to Brent.
So your dad was a drum major in the Aggie band, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So what was that like growing up hearing stories? And I imagine he influenced your decision then.
Oh, yeah. So my dad was class of '87. He was in the band. He earned his way to drum major. I love hearing stories about. He said that in preparing for that, he used to get my grandpa, and he would practice doing the drum major stuff in front of my grandpa, who was the whole band, and they would go out in the field and do that. So I'm obviously super glad that he got to do that, and it's had a huge impact. Like, I was an Aggie growing up. He would tell me stories about him in the band, the different games that he went to, and got to experience, and I'm pretty sure we were pretty good at that time. And he was like, yeah, we went to the Cotton Bowl and some stuff like that. So that was really cool to hear about. And just obviously instilled the Aggie ways in me as a young kid. So it was pretty much no question where I was going to school. So
what's your dad's name and your grandfather's name?
My dad's name is Michael Bond. Grandpa's name is Al Bond.
Okay. And being an aerospace engineering major, how do you balance that with being an athlete as well?
Yeah, so it's really hard, I'll tell you that. Football is already enough, and most people think football is already I kind of consider football as my full-time job. And school, I also put a lot of effort into it. I only take 12 hours, which is the minimum that I can take, and I really take time and focus on those classes outside of football. So what I like to do is once I go home, I really don't want to do anything school-related or whatever. So I'll try to stay up on campus as long as I can and just get the work done while I'm up here, because that's when I'd be most focused. That way I can go home and just kind of relax. Of course, I've had plenty of days where I go home and I still have to do homework because it's due at 12 o'clock and I didn't start till 10. But I thankfully I'm able to get it done. And I guess thankfully I've also graduated, and now I'm on to my master's, which is also engineering management, which I'm excited about too. Still engineering, so it's still plenty hard, but I don't know, it's not quite rocket science anymore. So
We'll go second row on the left side to Alex.
So did you play an instrument growing up?
I did. I played the trumpet growing up. That was fun. So I started playing when I was 6th grade, I think, and I stopped after my sophomore year of high school. So I played a good 5 years or whatever. It was kind of funny. I also played football during those times, played soccer. I was involved in a lot of athletics in school, but it was kind of funny. So freshman year of high school, I was part of the marching band as well. So it sounds kind of bad, but I cared more about band at that time than I did football. And so there were a few times where I would skip games so that I could go march instead, because it was I was marching with the older team and I was on the freshman team or whatever, so I would miss some games so I could go march, but that's not the case anymore. So
You never did the whole but you didn't do it long enough to where it's like you're wearing the football uniform at halftime? You know, some of those kids, they do band and football.
Yeah. I never got the opportunity because I never marched at the same game that I played. So when I went to Plano West, and for those of you that know or may not know, Plano does the weird like 9th and 10th grade schools and the 11th and 12th. So I marched with the 9th and 10th. And the first year I was on the freshman team, so they didn't march at that game. They marched at the older kids game, and then the following year I was on the varsity team for kicking, and so I didn't march on that game either. So it kind of it was really fun though. Some of my best friends are from band. Actually, most of my best friends are from band, so I don't have, or especially back home. So I think that's pretty cool. Those are good kids.
and-
I love bands, so.
You guys being specialists, y'all actually get to go out a little bit during halftime toward the end and might actually get to see a little bit of the band, whereas your teammates may not, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially growing up with my dad being the drum major, like the Fightin' Texas Aggie band was always something I wanted to watch. Like I know people always watch, and it's really cool. Like I think one of the coolest things I saw was when was it last year? Last year ACU, I think we made it out in time to watch the 4-way cross, and I was like, man, that's awesome. Like I've even caught myself, like I'll go on YouTube and I'll just like watch some Aggie band stuff every once in a while. So, but yeah, I mean I always want to respect them and just like let them do their stuff. And I love watching. It's a little different view from the field. I don't get to see as much of the cool stuff, but it's pretty cool to see a different view.
We'll go third row on the left side to Tony and then Ben.
Randy, obviously you're 2 for 2 and 50-yard plus kicks and attempts this year. Could you talk about your comfortability from that range, and maybe do you have an idea of where your max capacity could be there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that like no matter where I'm at on the field, I try to hit the same ball. So really, like, well, it was South Carolina lined up for both of those. Like nothing really changed in anything that I did. It just happens to be further. There's a little less room for error, but I go about the process the same way. I still aim at down the middle and just focus on what I can do until then. And like, fortunately, they both went in. I struck both of them really well. I'm glad for that. Praise God. But yeah, it was nothing changes. Like even all the short ones, there's just different angles, and so. Yeah, people think that maybe there's a little more pressure there, but I kind of think it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
We'll go back behind the lights on the right side to Ben.
I was kind of going to touch on that. Do you feel like, I guess, you talked about feeling a little stronger this year. Does it make that easier to kind of treat those longer kicks the same and maybe not have to have that in the back of your mind to put a little more oomph to it? Or do you just, it's always been in there and you're just kind of getting better at the accuracy?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think before, when I probably wasn't quite as strong or athletic or whatever it may be, like I think that would just pop in my mind more of like, oh, maybe I got to kick it a little harder. But this year especially, I'm just kind of trusting it. The ball is also just flying off a lot better this year. Like I've noticeably increased my range, and so that's like awesome. But like sometimes it's like both of those kicks in the South Carolina game came off my foot. I was like, oh, that's good. And like then I look up and it's like right down the middle, and so I'm like, yay. but yeah, it's just kind of doing like you hit it right, and when you hit it right, it goes pretty far. So
We'll go front row on the right side to Travis.
I know y'all are probably still getting ready, but do you ever get to see the field goal kick on game day in the mornings, and kind of what McAfee's doing to show how hard it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to watch that. Of course, I would love to do that and get some money from it too, but I can't do that. So, but yeah, it's really cool to watch that. I mean, I'm always rooting for them, but it's kind of funny because just how many kicks I've seen myself do, and I watch other guys and diagnose for them. It's like I can tell before they kick it whether it's going in or not. So, but if I have time, sometimes I'll watch it, or I'll at least watch it on Instagram or something. Then when it pops up, but other than that, yeah, and I think it's cool that he's doing that. I'm glad that it's caught on. I think it's pretty fun to watch. But, yeah.
What's your perspective been of what Tyler's been able to do at punter and holder this year too?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler's been playing awesome. So he's just doing his thing. I love the, like, swagger that he has, just kind of almost doesn't care, but he doesn't want you to know that. Or he doesn't want you to know that he cares, so he acts like he doesn't. But I think that's really actually helpful as a specialist, where it's like so, like it's like you pretty much get thrown onto the field. You get one chance. You don't really get a chance to like feel it out a little bit. So I think that's actually a really valuable skill. But yeah, it's been awesome to watch him punt. I always will stand up and find space on the sideline if I can, and I'll like try to count how far it went and whatever. But yeah, it's really cool cheering him on. As a holder, he's been doing great. Like, it's nice. I mean, I've gone from back-to-back amazing holders, so I can't really complain. Like, Nick was amazing at holding, and Tyler now is, like, doing really good. So I'm very thankful for that, and it obviously helps kicking when you get the hold down right. So
We'll go front row on the left side. Deceased to wrap us up.
You've been on a roll since the two misses at Florida. Was that a reset button, or what about that? How did that factor into? Because you just been, like you said, been down the middle since then, really.
yeah, I mean, it always sucks when you miss, but it's not the end of the world, right? I mean, thankfully, we were up by plenty in that game. It didn't really matter. But yeah, it kind of gave me a little perspective, because before that I hadn't missed at all, and so it gave me a little perspective, like, okay, like, you're not going to be perfect. It's okay. Like, you don't need to be perfect. What you need to be is the best that you can be. And so I've just kind of taken that approach, and like during practices and all the games going on, I've really been focusing on like, okay, like what is my process? What can I do to the best of my ability to give me the best shot for it to go in? And like, once the ball leaves my foot, there's nothing I can do about it. And so let's focus on the stuff that happens before. And so I've just been able to kind of focus in on that a little more and not worry as much about where the ball goes, because what you do before will determine where the ball goes. So if you focus on that, the ball will go where you want it to go. And so, yeah, I've just been able to focus in a little bit more on that. And so thankfully it's been going really well since then. I know that it'll continue, because